Now more than ever, we need connection. We cannot rely on being just by ourselves. Today's transmission is about pornography, masturbation, isolation, and cultivating real intimacy. I'm going to provide you with 3 ways to develop a deeper connection to self, to not engage in unhealthy habits because we're scared, because we're uncertain, because we're seeking short-term gratification and pleasure. 3 ways to help you break negative cycles. So many of us are forced more now to even be by ourselves. We're calling this hashtag social isolation. That's not a healthy thing. It needs to be physical isolation for a short period of time or for as long as we need. And then we have to understand that isolating ourselves socially is not healthy. What many are doing are going home, they're feeling uncertain, feeling stressed. Kyle, definitely take this as a sign, brother. Feeling disconnected. I was having this conversation with a dear friend of mine, Travo. I did a podcast with him yesterday, and this is why this video has been inspired. Because we're seeing many people isolating themselves more and wanting to experience pleasure because we're feeling so deprived and we're feeling restricted. We're in an uncertain, fear-based place right now. And so what do? We go to quick fixes. Whether it's food, whether it's pornography, whether it's old habits that are unhealthy and ultimately unsustainable. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's binge watching TV. We generally go into these extreme conditions. For many, it's pornography and masturbation. Whether you're a man or a woman, it's not super relevant, but it's a quick fix. It's a short-term gratification. We feel better about ourselves, and in our minds, we're not doing anything wrong. And guess what? You're not doing anything wrong. But here's the thing. Here's the crux. If you're moving towards masturbation and pornography because you're scared, because you're experiencing fear, because you're experiencing uncertainty, because you're bored, because you need it to feel better about yourself, there's maybe some form of a compulsion or an addiction there to some extent. Maybe there's an over-reliance. And going to that place is not going to be super healthy. So, what are 3 things that we can do to help break these cycles and actually create healthier practices in our day whilst we are a little more physically isolated? And this is super, super important because we may be isolated for the next 1 week to 30 days. And it's going to shift. The goalpost is going to continue to shift, and we're not going to know how and what to do. And so how we create healthy habits right now and healthy routines is so important. So the first thing we need to do is understand that we have an issue, we have an over-reliance. And knowing that we have an over-reliance on pornography or masturbation or short-term gratification or quick fixes to fix our anxiousness, or we think it's going to fix our anxiousness, we have to first recognize that and be aware of it. After we're aware of it, we may want to take ownership of it. That's very, very important. So before I can even give you the 3 things, we have to be able to be aware and be in ownership, responsible for where we're at and what we're experiencing and feeling. The next thing is either join a group, whether it's Sex Addicts Anonymous, whether it's a support group around sexual or love compulsion, whether it's even just having this opportunity to phone a friend and say, hey, I'm about to watch pornography and I want to break this habit. Can you talk me off the ledge per se? Can they provide you with an objective insight into, okay, why are you doing that? Distract you from that in a conscious, healthy way, in a deliberate way that gives you resolution, that gives you insight into the behavior and into what you're about to do. And so you can shift that. Now, many of us don't have that level of connection, intimacy, and friendship that we can go to reach to someone for that. That's why having a support group and virtual online support groups now more than ever are killing it. And killing it meaning that they're available. They're not necessarily overloaded, and you can find these support groups in your world to help you through this time. The next thing is being willing to do the inner work. We need to be prepared and willing to do the inner work. That means we have to understand, where is the compulsion coming from, or where is this willingness or this wanting to distract ourselves and move immediately into short-term gratification or pleasure. Where's it coming from? Is it from an old wounding of feeling abandoned and rejected, feeling alone as a child? Is it maybe having a bad breakup as a teenager, as an adult, and it's affected the way that we express intimacy, express love, express connection, vulnerability. We're too scared to go in, so we're safer in the realm of pornography and masturbation. Now, this has got nothing to do with pornography or masturbation being wrong. It's definitely not. In fact, masturbation and self-pleasure can be a really healthy practice. In fact, a practice that most of us probably need to do because most of us are so disconnected from our bodies. It's when it becomes a reliance, when we start forming this extreme relationship, whether it's with pornography or masturbation or both, that something needs to shift, because then we're distancing ourselves from our truth and we're distancing ourselves from real relationships and real intimacy. And so we have to be prepared to do that inner work. So the first thing is have access to a support group or a friend, someone that you can call if you're feeling that urge and if it's a habit that you really want to break or that you really want to shift and change. The next thing is ensuring that you're doing inner work. That's working with a shaman, a counselor, a coach, a spiritual healer, an energy healer, a psychologist. You're doing deeper work, looking at your stuff. Now is a beautiful time to be doing that work. Some of us have more time and space, some of us don't. However, our routines have changed, and I'll get to routines in a moment as a third element of this. But our routines have changed. We're going out less. We have more time at home, and so we can get stir crazy. So it's important to have a support group in terms of not only having someone to reach out to, but the inner work piece, filling our time with productive activity that helps us grow and expand, that gets us to know about who we are a little more. This is especially and particularly for those people that are on their own, that are living on their own, that don't have anyone, that are almost quote unquote quarantined on their own. And even if you're not quarantined, this can be a really useful tool and video to assist you in breaking a habit of an addiction or a compulsion or an over-reliance on pornography and or masturbation. Because remember, it's not so much what we're doing, it's why we're doing it that's important. Understanding that is super, super healthy for us. And the third thing is developing healthy routines. Can you develop a healthy routine, a daily healthy routine that helps you grow? For example, maybe it's a breathwork practice. Maybe it's a meditation practice. Maybe it's a morning routine around movement and exercise. Maybe it's all of the above. Maybe it's a journaling practice. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you have intervals during the day where you have an alarm on your phone every 2 hours, it beeps and it reminds you to take 1 to 2 minutes to just breathe as a healthy routine. Maybe at the end of the day, you have a routine around being reflective of how you spent your day, thinking about how you behaved, what you felt, what you experienced, what was important to you, where you maybe suffered, where you could have improved upon, just being reflective, and that's part of your healthy routine. Maybe incorporating research and reading into healthy nutrition, and then being able to live a different way, trying a different diet or nutritional plan rather, as opposed to the word diet. Cultivating healthy routines are very good for us, and we have the opportunity to change that. And I know many of us don't do very well with routines. That's why we have to go back to point number 2, is emotionally process and do the inner work. Because when we emotionally process, we're moving and shifting the pain, the fear, the difficulty, the overwhelm that we're experiencing in life. And it becomes super, super important for us to shift this. And so this is important. So the first 2 parts that lay the foundation are awareness and ownership. Without judgment, don't shame yourself. Don't be harsh to yourself. Don't have this inner voice that's this negative critique that comes through. It's okay. You're safe. First thing to do is find a support group or a psychologist, a counselor, a shaman, someone that can help you on your journey, that can assist you and guide you, that can be a voice of reason for you, that you can reach out to when you're feeling stuck, when you're trying to break this habit. Second, make sure you're doing that deep inner work. And third, create healthy routines in your life that they're not to distract you, they're to evolve you, to help us grow. I remember in my life, I was addicted to pornography and masturbation when I was bored, when I needed it to go to sleep. It wasn't helping me because of why I was using that. I was using it as a distraction from avoiding my pain and avoiding who I wanted to really be in the world, to put the effort in, because it was also scary. And so in times of fear and uncertainty, we will resort to habitual patterns that we're familiar with, behaviors that we're familiar with, often unhealthy, ones that give us short-term pleasure, but that keep distracting us and helping us avoid what's really important. If this has helped you, share the video. And remember, be that person that you want someone to be for you. Power and blessings.